All right, guys. Today we're gonna do domains and ranges. No, I'm sorry. Today we're gonna do relations and functions, but we're also gonna do the domain and range of relations and functions. So I have four problems here. I want you to answer each of these questions, and then I want you to give them to me when you come to class. I actually have two different periods, so I'm gonna write the date that I'm making this, which is the 15th. One class will use it on Friday the 17th, and one class won't use it until Monday, um, the what, 20th? So this is the date that I'm making it, but this is for the next time that I see y'all. So we're gonna go over each of these kinds of problems, and you'll be able to answer them. I want you to do them and just hand them to me as you're walking in. So this is something that I'm gonna collect. So this one, tell me the domain and range for these points. Is this a function? Is this a function? Is this a function? So the questions here will just be yes and no. Okay? So the first difference between a relation and a function. A relation is like every comparison of data. So a relation is comparison of data. A function is a special kind of comparison of data. A function, every input, which is usually x, has one and only one output, which is usually y. Now, every once in a while, we'll use different letters to represent inputs and outputs, but for the most part, it's x and y, okay? So every x has one and only one y. So what that means is your x's cannot repeat. So x's cannot repeat. So I'm going to look at a list of data, and I'm going to look at just the domain to tell if it's a relation or a function. So if they give me points, and it tells me to list the domain. Domain are all the x's. So I'm going to do it in roster notation, which we just learned. So Batman, 2, a 7, and a -1. I want to make it in increasing order. So -1, 2, 7. Close the Batman. Range are all my y's. Batman, again, I want it in increasing order. I have a 2, a 9, and a 3, a 9, and a 4. So I'm going to go 3, 4, 9. Now, I don't care about these when I'm looking if it's a relation or a function. What I care about are these. Are there any values that repeat? There are not, so this is a function. If any of these repeated, it would just be a relation, and I would say that it's not a function. Now, I don't need to list out the domain and range to do that. I can just look at the x's here and say, oh, none of them repeat, so it's a function. All right. I can also do it with a table of data. So if I have a table of data of my x's and y's, I notice that there's two y's that are the same, but that's not what matters. What I'm looking at are my x's, and all my x's are different, so this is also a function. I can do it with what's called mapping. With mapping, you don't write any repeats. You just write down the x's here and the y's here. They go in increasing order. And the x's draw an arrow to what their y value is. So this means a point of 2, 7. This means a point of 2, 8. So already I have an x that repeats. So that means that this is not a function, it's a relation. So if I look at something like this, I'm looking, does the x throw more than one arrow? And if it does, then it's a relation instead of a function. I can have something like this where the y receives more than one arrow. That's okay. That's still a function. It's the x's that we care about when we're talking about relations and functions. Okay? Now we have something when we're looking at graphs that we call the vertical line test, which means that if I make a vertical line straight up and down, and I draw it, I pull it across my graph, does it hit the actual graphed part more than once at the same time? So this is my graphed part, this guy right here. And if I pull this pen across, does it hit the graph more than once at the same time? So far, no, but right here it is hitting. It's hitting up here and down here. So this is not a function. This is a relation. And that's called the vertical line test. And that's how the vertical line test tells if it's a relation or a function. So that's what we're going to be doing in class. Should be fairly simple, but if you have any questions, let me know.